welcome everybody back. Episode number 100, our final ever KC happy hour, and we decided to bring back a lot for you guys tonight. We don't really have a lot of direction for the show, but we do have a lot of superstars. So we'll bring them in one by one and let you guys catch up a little bit with what they've been up to, because we've got our original cast from when we started episode 1 over 2.5 years ago in the summer of 2021. And I talked a little bit at the last show of kind of where this show's gone, where it started, and what's got us here to episode 100 and a good finale to it. So thankfully, everyone was happy enough to come back on. First up, Mr. 8-time now, a couple champs later, Ryan Norberg.
I think I'd be first. I thought.
Yeah, I figured I'd bring you in since,
First
highest finisher out of the supernats. So we'll go off that one as the first one back. So why don't you catch everybody up in the last 2.5 years if they haven't seen you, which would be a surprise.
2.5. I've been on here before that, but yeah, it's been a good year. I mean, we didn't come away with a win, which is a stinger, but it's been good. I mean, we've had a lot of good results. Team obviously won the supernats, had a great supernats, which was like the best way to probably cap off a season possible. And so yeah, we had a really good season, and I've been really busy with my academy. So going into next year, trying to work on that and actually get some structure for it, because it's difficult to be a one-man operation for everything. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot more behind the scenes that I didn't realize when I was like starting everything. So it's been nice to get that going. So yeah, it's been a busy year and getting stuff ready for next year so that can hit the ground running.
Let's bring in our next of fellow old guys here. Brandon Jarsocrak joins us as the elder statesman, and lots changed with you since the KC brand started and everything. Brandon, what about that?
Yeah, for sure. Lots changed in the past even year, 2.5 years since we started this. I started my own business, my own race team, in partnership with Mike Doty Racing, who I used to race for. So that's been going really well. I mean, just looking back from what it started at like a year and a half ago when we first started doing club races at GoPro here, or now Trackhouse, it's doubled, tripled, quadrupled in size just in 1 year, and it's pretty crazy. Kind of like Ryan was saying, like all the back end work behind a race team, it's insane how much goes into it week in and week out, of how much hard work and prep time and everything like that to run a race team around the country full time. It's very difficult, but it's been very rewarding. We've had some good success at Supernats, at all the races before, Stars, USPKS, SCUSA, the Club Series. So we've been doing good. Been busy this past week, 2 weeks prepping, trying to get ready as much as we can for next year. It's a lot of work to prep and go through everything from last year and then prep everything for next year, redo some of the trailer stuff, and just been busy. But we have a club race this weekend at Trackhouse. It's the last race of the year. Then we'll get ready to go to Daytona and then go to SCUSA from there. So,
well, for those that have only been following us for a couple years, I've been announcing these two guys' races for a long time, to the point that I was still racing when I was announcing against them. Brandon's one of the guys that I used to get accused of being a bit favoritism towards, but the other guy that I always get accused of being a little bit too nice to is Braden Eves, who's on the show as well tonight. So, Braden, thanks for coming as well, and why don't you catch everybody up what the last couple of years look like for you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Well, this year was a bit different than the past couple of years. Obviously, was in what's now called the USF Pro Championships the past several years, and then kind of didn't have the best year last year. So then kind of opportunities kind of dried up, and then went back to karting to really just try and have some fun and get back to racing kind of the way it all started, which was just for fun, just to go out there and have a good time. And yeah, it was a fun year doing the USPKS. Had a couple chances to win, didn't end up winning, but oh well, it is what it is. That's kind of one of the reasons why it was nice to do some karting. At the end of the day, if it didn't go well, it was all right. But now trying to get back into the car stuff again. Did another test at IMS a couple weeks ago and ended up going actually quickest in my first session back. So that was really confidence building and putting something together for next year.
Along with Braden, another guy that's been busy in the car world is Connor Zilisch. Con man, good to have you back here. And you've had probably one of the most publicized changes over the last 3 years, buddy. You've almost, got like that first maybe facial hair coming in too.
Yeah, it's been a wild 2.5 years since I've been on here with you guys, and I mean, you guys have talked about how crazy the sport is as you get deeper into it and kind of change your role. And I'm still a driver, so obviously, not a lot of things have changed for me. But as I've gotten deeper into the car world and seen more and understood more, it's been pretty wild to be a part of it, and racing on ovals and the amount of different stuff I've raced has been really cool. So yeah, just trying to kind of ride the wave and keep being myself and just good results and being a good guy. And yeah, it's been good. I've got some really cool stuff lined up for next year that's not finished yet, but it'll be finished soon, and it'll be pretty shocking. And it's kind of a lifetime opportunity and dream come true. So looking forward to getting stuff signed and ready to go for next year.
And finally, we got Paulie joining us back here. Paulie, what's your last 3 years look like?
Yeah, I mean, a lot has changed.
No, I'm kidding. That's good, Paulie. You don't have to talk at all.
All right, I'll see you guys next time.
It wouldn't be
do that.
Just like old
Words
times.
ever said on a podcast right there.
No, in all
Paulie,
seriousness.
Is that Paulie smiling back there?
Yeah, can you believe it?
All right,
You got to do like a
This
lineup
is
of the
long.
first episode and then this one, and it's just Paulie's same face. Like,
There.
No,
Catch us up, Paulie. I interrupted you.
No, a lot's been going on past few years. Kind of shifted over from obviously still racing a good bit. Went back home with Brandon and Doty. Doing a bunch of racing over there. Kind of not as much as I was before, but still a good bit. Been pretty much working full time for Brandon now with all the club stuff, stars. Pretty much full time here. Back home doing whatever he needs, and then I've been kind of working on upping my coaching on track stuff along with Norberg. It's pretty difficult to keep that running, especially while you're racing and working. It's a lot to take in. I feel like I'm working every single day, all the way from 9 to 7. So no, it's been fun. It's super busy. Like I said, I've been trying to amp up the coaching a little bit. Got some new stuff coming for next year. Carts, sticker kits, suits, stuff like that. So trying to look a little bit more up to par and keep pushing to have a better year for next year.
Well, for those of you guys that are joining us that don't know, I know at least for a fact, Paulie, Brandon, and Ryan were all busy coaching during the day at the racetrack. I asked everybody to think of their favorite happy hour moments that we've had over the last couple of years. But to be honest, a lot of the KC stuff kind of all blends together. So opening that up to anything over the last couple of years since we've been streaming or anything we've had on video. And I'm going to put the guys on blast to kick us off here first that weren't at the go-kart track to the last possible second to get here. So Connor, why don't you lead us off here? You've got the least amount of experience over the last couple of years, but you've had some pretty memorable moments. So what, as we kind of reminisce on the final episode of this show, do you want to bring up for us to start talking about?
Well, I was wondering if Tony Tesoro could hop on tonight and make things interesting. It's been a while since I've seen Tony. One thing I was thinking back, I was looking at my YouTube channel the other day, and my video that has like 300 some odd thousand views when I was at Supernats and went from last to first, and then got out of my cart when I got wrecked on the last lap and slapped Cole. That was a good one. So I had a lot of memories, but Tony, I miss Tony on here. Like it was always a good time when Tony got on.
So yeah, Tony was supposed to make an appearance, and the thing about Tony is Tony works on Tony's schedule, and Tony's schedule changes by the second. So we won't know if we'll get to see Tony at all tonight. But there is, even when Tony says no, there's a chance Tony might get in. So I sent Tony the invite. I texted him earlier. I haven't heard back from him. So we're going to find out if Tony joins us as one of the extra special guests that'll join us the show. I have one other guest that I lined up to join us and interrupt the show later on, but I'll echo that. I think everybody can agree it's fun when Tony gets on here, and you just don't know what Tony you're getting or what Tony's going to say, right, Brandon?
Yeah, it's that's definitely the truth. I can't believe he's still on his way home from Vegas. What, a month later?
Yeah, he said he had a Thanksgiving and then he bought a boat. He's a boat does
He's a
boat
captain.
tours.
He did
Yeah,
tell me
he's a
that he wanted to
captain. He
become
got
a
his
captain.
captain's license. Yeah.
What doesn't he do? He's like a doctor. He's a captain. He's a mechanic. He's a plumber.
And he cooks a good pasta too. You know, big wine connoisseur as well.
He is.
You know,
He drinks
very
his
into
wine.
very.
His pasta
He
was
does drink his
delicious.
wine.
Braden, what about you, man? What could you think over the last couple of years? You and Ryan had a pretty good highlight earlier this year in Indiana. You two going at it and getting a little bit riled up. Does that
it's
make
like
the
a
top
yearly
5
thing.
list?
I think it's like a yearly thing. Brady have to get mad at one another about once a year, and then we'll fucking figure it out. Oh, we'll figure it out.
There we go. Already first cuss bomb drop by the PC. Got Vanilla Man himself.
Yeah,
All right.
Ryan really riled me up at Newcastle. I was not happy about that one.
Brady, it's part of our story, man. We were like, things are too good between us. I would say hi to you, and I can't take this.
My favorite moment was getting the revenge on him during the IME Grands backwards shootout at night in the rain.
We were battling for 3 seconds.
That was a highlight of my year for sure. Was lunging it all the way through the grass and then potting him off the track to get revenge for him crashing me out of that race.
Paulie, what are you looking at? You look deep in thought. What are you looking at?
I'm looking at the sun in the background.
The sun? It's like 8 o'clock.
No, I don't know. When I look at my camera, when I look at you guys, I don't know. It's just off. Don't worry.
Bro needs some sleep.
Paulie doesn't look like he's got a lot going on underneath that cap right now, so we're gonna go to the next one. Actually, I want to hang on that one for a minute, Ryan. Did you go and talk to Braden after he potted you the hell off the racetrack?
We talked for a while. We didn't speak then for like a month, and then we played some craps together, and I think that's how it all. It's a yearly thing, dude. It's a yearly thing. Braden and I just have to have our fallout, and then eventually we kind of were like, I gotta see this guy every week. So then we get back together, and then we'll do it one more time.
Ryan, remember when you wrecked me at the shootout?
Dude, that happens. That's what I'm saying. It's a yearly thing. I can't have a good year. I have to ruin it. You know, like the shootout especially. I'm like, it's like swinging for the fences. I feel like with the shootout, like I either am killing it or it's just absolutely atrocious.
What was X30 Senior to win at Supernats? Cash.
Yeah.
Like how much what did they pay to win?
$3,000
this year.
Yeah.
Biggest race of the year, and they pay $3,000.
Only Shifter gets the 10. There was the 1 year, a couple years ago when they did they've done like some different ones and they matched it, and then there was the year Pagano won the championship and the race and he got 10. Might have got.
That's what it used to be. Is if you raced the championship and then you did the thing, then you got $10,000. But the year I won, they changed that rule. So yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds right. I was actually worried that night at the craps table because I think I started down with you, Ryan, and then Braden asked me where I was playing, and I was like, oh, I don't know if these guys are over it yet.
You shouldn't play with me, man. I could not. The last day of Supernats, I could not. I mean, I was gonna say buy a bet, but that's literally what you're doing. So like, I couldn't. There's no way I could have like. Every dollar I spent was lost immediately. So
what do you think your plus or minus is in Vegas throughout the years?
I had a couple good days, you know, so those I think about even. But that last night in Vegas, I was like, literally every hand, I'm like, you know what? Another $100 is gonna save this, and it was like 2 hands. And I'm like, you know what? Another $100 will save this, and it was just over and over and over and over.
There was a moment. Win big. There was a moment when I was at the craps table with Braden. I think we were doing good. And then great. Ryan came by and he's like, how is it? And I was like, good. And then the next roll, we lost everything. We told him to run away.
Walked away. I was like, that's amazing. Dude, I literally was playing. I lost $300. And then everybody was like, you should come back down and play. I'm like, I can't. This has been just awful. And then they won like $1,000. And I came back down and they were like, where were you? And everybody won like 5 minutes after I left, won everything. So I don't know.
Every gambler quits right before they win big.
Yeah, I know, right? That's why I always said, I'm like, dude,
Yeah, don't have that mentality.
I'm gonna go on a run. Go on Gamblers Anonymous or something.
Statistically proven.
Brandon, what's got to be your favorite moment over these last 3 years, man? Let's switch it up. We're going to talk about Vegas forever here if we stay on this too long.
I think my favorite moment was that first race that you guys started doing the live stream. I think it was Miami Grands in 21, maybe.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the coolest times when we did that shootout for the first time, everything like that. And that was the first time we did a live stream. And then you had all of us come up and guest announce for whichever race we weren't involved in. And I think that was the coolest thing because that really is what like kicked off everything for what you guys have done in the past, what is it, 2 years now with the live streams. And like I said, that was definitely a step forward in the sport, and it's grown crazy in the past 2 years.
Yeah, that's that weekend was something. And it's funny because that was only, I think, about 2 or 3 weeks. We started the show coming out of USPKS Road America, which I think was 3 weeks prior to that. And we were at the point where we felt like we weren't getting everybody to know who you guys were and want to pick a guy to root for in the case of Braden versus Ryan or any other rivalries that come up, even if they're not even heated, just wanting one guy to win or not. So we started this so we could all, not just us, but whoever the other top drivers are throughout, come on and talk, get to know a little longer on interviews. And then 3 weeks later we get the first live stream, and then my phone was blowing up for weeks after of every series. And it was funny talking about you guys coming in for commentary. It was like passing these headsets around, and I just brought in a bunch of guys to do it, and Trevor was handling a lot behind, but it was kind of me directing the show while I was on camera. So it'd be like, all right, headset to you. And then Ryan was like having a good time, and he's like, all right, I'm good for another one. And I think like Braden or Paulie was over ready to get back in too, but there was no way to like coordinate who was getting in. It for like everyone was like fighting almost elbows out for airtime on it. But it was fun. I know that weekend was cool, and it was cool to have like that weekend should have gone wrong in like 100 different ways. Like there is no reason that broadcast should have gone as good as it did, especially because I didn't even remember it till this year. But if we remember back, the second main had a big monsoon rainstorm come in.
I remember that
during the Masters race, and it was a little before the K race. So that's probably why it rings for you. And so it like we had terrible storms obviously this year and about wiped out a bunch of my stuff. But I remember like we were scrambling to get the second or the third camera up. We were down to like one, and we should have lost it all. And it was all rental stuff too. So I would have had to pay for everything out of the, well, I guess my insurance would have gone either way, but that was like a really big risk on 4 weeks of training and trying to understand everything and then working on there. And then we tried to do a happy hour that week too at Connor's house, and that failed. I don't know if I've told that story.
That's when I cut my hair.
Yeah, you buzz cut your hair because we couldn't do the show. We're trying to entertain people, and so the story goes that we test everything Wednesday. Everything's good, and we're like, cool. We'll do an in-person version of this, where everyone's together, have like a cool dynamic that way. And I forgot to bring an HDMI to USB adapter. Being stupid, and this is where people that understand anything with streaming or anything with video, you can't just like put it into like the HDMI port on your computer. Like that is a one-way out. It's not a way to take in video. So all the cameras were on, the switcher was ready, and then the one little like 50, it's about a $200 piece, but you can get some cheaper ones. I left at the track, so I booked it to the track. Then I was driving back from the track with the part. We were going to be like 30 minutes late, and I blew a tire.
Oh, I forgot about all this.
Trevor came back and had to he changed the tire. Then I drove Trevor's car because, again, this is at the time that we didn't have a trailer or RV or anything for that whole, that year and the next year, really, up until last Supernats, we were driving around with our 2 cars. With all the equipment across the country. And so he comes over and he's like, I'll change the tire. You go get the show going. And then we showed up and I still couldn't get it to work. And I think I grabbed the wrong part or something. So all that blowing a tire, like driving not too fast. My car's not that fast, but fast enough that I blew a tire. Trying to get a show that ended up just with an Instagram live feed of Connor buzz cutting his hair for what do we set it at? $200, and we hit that $250. We hit that donation like instantly.
Yeah.
And
I went for the one day with the old man cut. Like I cut all the sides off.
Yeah,
Or I cut the top off and then left the sides.
Yeah, and then we do the real buzz, the finish of the buzz cut on the broadcast, and as you get up out of the seat, one of the Tobo brothers gets in the seat.
Yeah, and they wanted to get their haircut too.
And so they
wait,
buzzed.
Xander, I gotta pass it to you. Well, if you were to pick a moment, you've been the one on the road doing all the fun stuff in the last 2.5 years. What's one moment that you would remember?
Oh God, man. Well, there's a lot of moments like that. That wasn't the only tire I blew, actually. So there's a few of blown tire moments. There was one time at Newcastle with my car. I think that was the other tire on the front that went. And I hit a nail that time. Just driving from the shoe in the 5-minute drive over to the track. And Jimmy Simpson stopped and helped me get the spare on. Because I didn't have the one tool. Luckily, he had the tool in his truck to get the lug nuts off. I don't know where it went. And then there was another time, I think Trevor broke down somewhere in Kentucky. So we spent the night there. Well, his car got towed. And then we were so we bought our RV used for a good friend of ours. The one thing that we had to replace on it were the tires. And we knew that we were going to need to get to that eventually. But we thought about 8, maybe 10,000 miles still left on them. There's still a good amount of tread. They weren't bone or anything. So take it to Vegas and back, all good. Get the oil change, take it down to Miami, all good. We didn't have another way of transportation to get us out of Miami over to TSRS at NOLA because it was supposed to be all of Florida, then TSRS, and then SCUSA NOLA. And then SCUSA NOLA ended up going to Orlando. So we had to make a 30-hour drive over to NOLA and then a 30-hour drive back. Well, we were going to be perfectly fine just to do that, do the NOLA drive, then to go 8 hours to Dallas and get everything changed, all serviced again. That was the plan. Since we had to go back to Orlando, on the way back to Orlando, leaving Houston, we blew both rear tires and the spare on the right side of the RV because we had overloaded it with equipment before we got the trailer. So that was not too fun. So those moments stick out the most. And I think there's been also a few moments on stream that have made me lose a lot of sleep at night of someone saying the wrong thing.
At Supernats this year.
And a lot of points. A lot more than what it should have been. At least the Supernats.
Is there like a mic on the cameras?
Yeah, the cameras have a mic to tune the engines, and we hadn't been used to that recently. And there's not a perfect way for those guys to see, but that wasn't good either. Yeah, that's still recent. That one I don't like joking about. That one's not as funny. It's funny when it was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It's not as funny right now. That was very scary. Yeah, I don't know. I think the best moments is where I'm going to get a little savvy. The best moments is when you see like the little kids want to come and take pictures either with you guys or like with me, like before, after podiums and stuff. And that, I don't know. I don't know if I was as attuned to that before we really got going, but I don't remember that happening all too much beforehand, at least as frequent as it did. You know, I don't know if you remember, I'm sure you and Ryan, at least Ryan, I know, you know, Cadence Presley was a kid who was racing micro at Utah 2 years ago. We were just doing videos at the time, and his dad was in the leading edge tent, and he saw me talking to Oliver Calvo, and he's like, "Hey, my son's a huge fan of your YouTube channel. He's too nervous to come talk to you. He'd love to come meet you and take a picture." And I was like, "Cool." And so I took a picture with him. He's like, "Oh, by the way," he's like a huge Ryan Norberg fan, Connor Zilisch fan, Hannah Greenemeyer fan, and took him around, had him meet all you guys. And Hannah had just gotten her T-shirts. And so I was like, Hannah, like, you know, she was giving them out. I was like, Hannah, sign it and like give it to him. And the kid wore it like the next day. And I swear he wore it the whole weekend. And so you see stuff like
Forrest?
that. Was that Forrest? That was Forrest Adams. That wasn't Cadence.
Yeah.
Mixed. Yeah, that was Forrest Adams. See, all right. Shout outs for both. Forrest is great too. He drives for Brandon now. But yeah, no, you're right. You remember better than me.
Yeah,
but
Ryan's the famous guy with all the kids and want the pictures and
yeah.
I never got a picture.
Paulie got asked for an autograph, I heard, at Daytona a year or two ago, right, Paulie?
Oh yeah, that did happen. While we were at dinner.
You know it. She actually she raced at Trackhouse. She she came up to me one day and she asked if I can come take a picture with her sister, and she was wearing I don't know, they made some shirt of mine, or not of mine, but of me, not a picture of me, just my last name. So I don't know. It was cool. It's cool to see
Man.
stuff like that.
I
Not
think-
as popular as, Zilisch and Norberg, but I get a few here and there.
The coolest one was I got recognized at an Indiana Walmart.
Really?
Yeah, by a cashier. I was
That's
like,
sick.
That's pretty
Yeah,
that's a good
impressive.
thing.
he was like, "Are you Ryan Norberg?" I'm like, "Yeah." Awesome. Like, how?
That's funny.
That's not good. Yeah,
All
but
right.
apparently he like
What-
raced here and there. But it was funny. I was like, "Damn, what a cool place!"
I don't know if
All
Indiana
right.
Walmart's a cool place.
Exactly. Outside of a racetrack, that's
It
big.
is
For
now.
This
That's
is
yeah.
awesome.
Anything's cool up there. Paulie, you say I don't let you talk enough. How about I let you go next, bro? Favorite moment?
First off, I want to start off with how Ryan was so impressive with what he texted us and how he was back in 3 minutes. That was quite impressive. But I don't know.
I didn't even see that till now.
Most of the time, I just try and have a good time at the track. I don't know. My most memorable moment is probably whipping down on Joe Turney this year. One time. Just once.
You mean
When
like
was this?
beating him
Crossed
or
him
like?
up in the last corner.
Are you the one that broke his ankle? What do you mean
Yeah.
whipping down on him?
No. Crossed him up in the last corner, and I should have quit after that race.
It was probably
But-
like practice or something.
No, it was in the final. It was in the final.
He was
It was
letting
in
him
the
by
final.
qualifying.
It was in the
It's
final.
like, yeah, you let me by, but it like
Yeah, I still passed you.
No, it was in the final when at the IME race. But I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. I have a lot of memorable moments from the track. I try to take everything in while I can before it's all gone. No need to get dark. No need to get dark,
Before it's
but
all
Where
gone.
you going, dude?
no need to get dark. But eventually you got to move on. So you got to try and
Don't
cherish
say you
it.
got
Hey,
to,
Paulie,
dog.
Paulie, where do you want to be in 10 years? What's your plan?
I don't think you really want to know.
It doesn't sound like the answer's alive.
I don't know. Where do I want to be?
Hey, we'll go around the room and ask that question.
I don't know. Maybe not in this room. I don't know. Somewhere. I don't really know.
There.
Hole, maybe.
This is why we don't let you talk.
Yeah, exactly. Just mute him again. Just put him back in the
Here, we'll take him out. All right.
That makes it easy.
Oh, I know he's all sad now. Oh man.
Yeah, no, he's gonna
Uh,
leave.
Ryan, did I haven't gotten to you yet, right? You're the last one, I think. We haven't
Yeah,
gotten
I
on a
think
favorite
so.
moment.
I mean, I don't know. Announcing with Kart Chaser is always like the highlight of my year. I mean, outside of like whenever you have a good year, that's one thing. But like, I always enjoyed going up and every year at the IME Grands doing sitting down and doing some commentary. I think last year was probably the most fun I had, where Connor and I could kind of like. There's a few times where you just walked away on us, and Connor and I were allowed to just kind of like run it not run it like, but we were like.
We ran the show.
Yeah, we ran the show,
Yeah.
dog, and so I think for us that was a lot of fun for me, and so
Yeah.
I think that was good. And then obviously I think just like the overall like the awareness that this channel has brought to the sport, even the show, like it's tough to do a karting show every week just because some weeks there's just nothing going on. And as like somebody who has like a karting channel, it is hard to come up with karting content every week because like you just run out at some point. So the fact that you had pretty consistent shows, and the fact that you got to 100 shows is like pretty impressive. So I'm just happy that this show's brought some awareness to the sport. I mean, we were able to make some changes, just voicing our opinions, having people on. I think a lot of for better or for worse, there were changes that series changed because of this show. And like we all joke about it, we all have fun on here, but like it has a serious impact on the sport. And it's really cool to see that this a group of I mean, obviously your thing, but like kind of a group of just karters, getting together and talking every week is so influential in our industry. So I think it is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's been a good ride, right? I mean, we look back, we think a year from that Road America date when everybody was cutting the chicane, and we had a show where we talked about what to do with that. Came up with a good idea. USPKS did it. I thought it actually worked pretty good. I didn't race it. Paulie, you were running. I don't remember if you ran that one 2022 Road America, Braden, but I know you and Ryan both ran it with the new barrier, and that seemed to clean up the corner cutting. And obviously, Braden, you and I were at Newcastle for what felt like ages, but it also felt like 5 minutes talking about the whole pro show idea and fleshing that out with race and chase for 3 hours. And then, that went straight into a meeting I went into with Scusa the next day going, hey, I think I got something a little bit different to try out for the Pro Tour format. And kind of, Stars was also wanting to do a pro show idea. And when it was fleshed out, both came out, really, really good, which is really cool. So there's been a lot of other spin-offs and points, and not everything's been good. We've stepped on our
pushback bumpers was not a great idea.
No, maybe that wasn't the best idea.
Getting rid of those, and then they did that. Don't do that.
Yeah, we're maybe wrong on that.
When did they get rid of pushbacks?
For the winter series.
Winter series for a weekend.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That one wasn't the cleanest.
Immediately went back. I was like, my bad. Yeah. That's on me. I was pushing that.
I have another opinionated guy, though, that is going to be joining us. I think you guys already know, so it's not as much of a spoiler, but about a year ago on this show during the offseason, we were struggling for stuff to talk about. I brought on AJ Myers and the big man himself, Danny Formal, to talk about shifter racing. And Danny had some choice words, but you guys weren't on to hear it as a live audience. So, Danny, first of all, hey, congrats on Supernats, buddy. I know that's a big win to be the four-timer, but you seem really serious here to kick things off in your Lamborghini jacket. So what's going on, dude?
Been going to bed like 9:30 since I got back from a race. So I'm like, it's almost my bedtime. So yeah, no, but thank you, Xander. Yeah, like I heard, I've been here about 20 minutes listening to you guys. Yeah, the show's been amazing. The awareness, the just use people in Costa Rica, people even in the car industry right now in IMSA, a lot of people are asking me about karting. A lot of people are asking me what time's your main event. They're watching, the X30 races, the KA race, obviously KZ races. So for sure, it's been an amazing thing to see, something that we kind of had a little bit back in the day, in the Rotax days when I ran Rotax in the Florida Winter Tour. Bill Wright kind of introduced something similar, and it off, but it really never took off nearly as much as this you guys have been able to accomplish. So pretty amazing to see. And yeah, I'm happy to be back here with you guys.
So, you said all these guys were scared to run, shifter back in the day. They still are?
Oh, here we go.
In my face, Danny.
But I just remember I did one race and fucking smoked them all. So races, me and Paulie got into it. He still hasn't said hello to me since that day.
Paulie's still muted.
You still can't. Don't worry about it.
Year and a half, and here comes the big guy and fucking smoked them. So did Paulie. So yeah, you guys need to come up and do it in shifter now. The only guy here, Dalton, he did three classes in one weekend. I wouldn't even.
We have the same boss now. You see why I can't.
Bro, he'll say straight up no to your face. That's okay. He's not even gonna want Ryan in a shifter because he just won't want. But Connor, come on, dude. You did a lot of races last year in shifter. This year, nothing. Come on.
I haven't sat in a go-kart in months.
Dude,
No. Connor, be honest. Remember what we talked about after you did the one shifter race in NOLA, dude? What was your honest thoughts on it? Come on, dude.
I thought it was boring.
Yeah, there it is. You thought it was boring.
There's only a couple races a year that to be honest, it's badass. Not gonna lie to you. I think the new bumper rules are a lot better. Racing's been 10 times better.
What's the new bumper rules?
There's no bumper anymore in shifter.
Okay. Yeah.
Yakuza has it. You have to drop down. It goes in, nothing happens. Which kind of, I think they need to take it away. We're going to run no bumper to run no bumper. Rock has it completely taken away. USPKS, I don't remember. But the racing's been a lot better. Like me and AJ's race at Supernats, if I had a bumper, it definitely would have been in, right? I think half of it went in. Again, it's not that I took him out, but he was blocking crazy and, brake checking and stuff like that. So racing's definitely gotten a lot better in KZ. For sure, the KA race I did in freaking Mooresville was insane. The racing is a lot different. Don't get me wrong. It's like comparing, you're in cars now, MX5 racing to anything else. It's you could be 6 times faster than somebody, and the draft will bring you right back. I think me and Paulie were the only two people to like walk away in a KA race in the shootout race because the straight was half the size. But yeah, it's impossible. So it's very hard to pull away in any class, even X30. What Donovan was able to do at Supernats was because all the people are acting like
that was the worst race ever.
Ryan freaking 7/10 a lot faster, and he didn't win again. But
why'd you start so far back, Ryan?
Disqualification in the heat race.
Were you cheating?
Oh yeah, I was running my weight lighter. Took a nut off.
Yeah, smart.
That's
Remember, like in 2020, when did you win? Like, what year did you? It was 2021. No, was it 2021 when you won like every race?
That was last year, 22.
Okay, one of the years I remember we used to always come on here and just say that you cheated all the time. That's all we talked about.
That was great, actually.
That's all we talked about.
Yeah, that was awesome for me. Yeah, probably why you saw a leave of absence there for a while.
Yeah, that was not good. That was not, we did not have a lot of series asking, being very excited for Kart Chaser to show up during that era.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if that was part of the reason we didn't end up over at Rock Vegas, because what I kind of came to on this there was that you guys, I tried to make sure that if I ever joke Ryan was cheating, that I would joke about it. And granted, everybody else that we'd bring on would sometimes be a little bit more, a little, you couldn't see if it was 100% or not. Even if it was a joke, it would go the way of so-and-so and so said this on Xander's show, or they said this on Xander's show, which could be attributed to me or you guys. And then they would call people at the series, or they call the tech guys, or they call Raleigh, and they'd be like, Xander is literally just saying that Rawlins and Performance Group is just a bunch of cheaters every single week. Why do we hire this guy? That was not a fun era.
No, but look at the racing now. It's great now. Like, it's been a big flip. So, we went from winning, I won a lot, to literally not winning anything. So what a great switch. Actually, I mean, to be fair, like, I had a lot of fun this year, even though it wasn't like I didn't win anything, but there was a lot of like, it was a good year. Like, the racing was always really good. I mean, I remember talking to you, Xander, and being like, dude, like the actual highlights of this race are like good. Like, these are going to be like pretty good content things for you, because it's going to be the highlights were always really good. I mean, you'd come off mad, but like, a week later, you're like, like, it was actually pretty fun to race that.
Yeah, well, and to be a part of it, right? Like, your name still goes up as a guy that ran at the front in a battle, and everyone knows most battles most of the time can go either way. I'm still, as this show's going on, getting notifications from USPKS Trackhouse this year, the final with Hayden, which that video on Facebook, that highlights from the X30 main. Just sometimes you get these videos from time to time now as our page has gotten a little bigger that'll just randomly get traction and take off. And if it's a crash, or if it's like a vocal interview or something big, you kind of expect it. But, when it's like a 5-minute long video, you don't expect it. That video's got like 300,000 views on Facebook for no reason. The battles, that you were in with Joe, most of those were 50, 100,000. And that's the good of the sport, right? That ends up going, pretty far. And that was pretty cool. So to see that and to see, like, for the most part, it's been fun this year. Another like cool moment as we get to bring David Land along for a lot of us, is like an internal media guy that's, a media guy in the IndyCar and IMSA world. And he's always blown away at like how open everyone in the sport is to talking to him outside of Paulie. Paulie blew him off one time. And Paulie, I don't know why you're muted, but
Who is this?
well, actually, you've blown off my interviewers a lot this year, if I'm being honest. CK&A, you blew him off.
Nah, that was your fault. 100%.
It wasn't my fault.
Your interviewers don't put up a fight. They're like, "Hey, can you talk?" And you're like, "No," and they're like, "All right."
All right. Too nice. They got that.
You gotta get some
Yeah.
fighters. Like, and I think that's why he does well, is because he literally he's like, "Oh no," but like we gotta talk, and you're like, "Oh, all right." Like if you normally ask twice, it's like okay, but he gets you like right off the track, you're livid, and they're like,
the
"Let's
car
talk."
stuff?
You're like, "Oh, like I'm not talking." Like
Literally, if you wreck or like something happens to you or anything, they literally just shove the mic in your like. You don't even get the chance to say no.
that's what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, we
I
try
don't
to be
advise that,
respectful.
but you should do more of that if you're gonna try and get actual like talking.
Bad habit.
Yeah.
What?
Especially if he wants to get it after.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you gotta press a bit.
Yeah.
That's when you just walk away.
No, you
But
say-
even that, man.
No,
that's
Paulie, that's not what you do.
That's why Paulie has like all these fans and the people that love Paulie.
Paulie's kept up like a streak at the Miami Grands, by the way, too, of giving just gold for interviews every year. Like that race specifically.
Oh wait, remember Miami Grand's interview?
That one was not a good one. That was one that got us a call to the principal's office.
That was
I got called to the principal's office for that one.
Yep.
Xander, you want to know why my interviews are so good at immigrants?
Why is that?
Because most of the time I just have a good time. Most of the time.
Yeah.
What
That
are
is
you
a
doing
good time.
regular weekends? Like, is it just not fun?
Nah, it's just it's I don't know. It changes. I don't know. It just changes. It's
He goes through big mood
Bro's
swings.
just out there just doing it. He's just doing it.
All right. Well, Danny, I won't keep you up too much longer. It's been cool having you join us again. Congrats again on Supernats. And as a parting words here, we already called him out once on not running shifter. So, but to be fair, I'll give you a moment to talk about the shifter racing in general for the U.S. This is the first year that the schedule basically doubled for all the national events that you could run shifter. The shift to KZ to the season helped kind of keep the numbers afloat, keep everybody happy. And you obviously got super exciting news with Wayne Taylor, but sounds like hopefully after Supernats we'll get to still see you a couple times next year, maybe.
Yeah, I think Mike and I are working right now on the schedule. Definitely a little bit more racing, car racing next year for me, luckily. But yeah, it's awesome that USPKS put KZ in their program, and SCUSA is pushing really hard for you, KZ, and obviously Rock Shifter also. Yeah, and I just saw that Challenge of the Americas is an open KZ class now. So hopefully it's growing. Like I told the guy, it's gotten a lot better without the bumper. We still go around in circles. It's still a very expensive class. No one in the top 30 or stock Vortex or stock Miami. You have to invest a lot of money, but you need to invest a lot of money in anything. So it's just, I think, a little bit different. It's just a hard hobby class. Let's say it's hard to be KZ, make it a hobby class. It's more of a, it's just a hard word to put it. It's a little bit higher than X30 K in my opinion of how much it costs and how much it costs a team to run it too. So hopefully it keeps growing. The level in the U.S. is again very high. Me and AJ were pretty much dominant in Supernats in a way, except for Denner. Me and AJ both had a difficult qualifying. He didn't have it as bad as me, but me and him were pretty dominant. Kyle Wick, also his teammate. God, I forgot his name. He qualified on pole.
Jacob Gulick.
Gary's program's doing really well too. So it shows that the American level it's quite high when the Europeans come over. Marin Kremers, whatever we want to call him, if he's European or American, I think he's definitely more American. The other day I saw a video of him when I raced him in 2019. He had to weigh at least 30 pounds less. That guy's got an American weight on him now. So let's call him a hybrid. But you know what I mean? Like, we're all there. We're all fighting. The level's extremely high. So I hope it continues to grow. I hope I could do at least one championship this year. I think Mike and I will talk it over to try to do a full championship that I could do. I hope to be in Homestead at least for the first race. That's right before Daytona. I would like to get in a go-kart and get ready before Daytona. You know, it's always good to be in a car, in a go-kart before getting in the car. So yeah, super happy with the season. Super happy to be teammates again with Ryan. We've gotten pretty close over the years, and I'm really excited for this coming year.
Well, thanks for joining us, Danny. Marian was watching; he's listening, and he definitely took the comments to heart a little bit. He's he said that's rough. He's about to go on a diet now. He a little clap back there. He says he has more lead on the cart than you do still. So at least he's.
Wait, Aaron, come on. Look at the size of the melon. Obviously, come on. 5'8". Come on, dude. Come on. No.
All right. Thanks, Daddy. We appreciate it, man.
Have a great night, and I'll keep watching the show.
We'll see you, buddy. All right. Back to us for the last little round here before I let you guys go. And Paulie, your mic's still muted, dude. This time it's not me, though. I have you unmuted. Oh, no.
I muted it.
Yeah.
I was always taught if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all.
Oh.
Dang, Paulie, what's wrong? Hey, Paulie.
No.
Dinner's ready downstairs.
Yeah, dinner's ready, waiting on you, Paulie.
I know. I'm fucking. I don't really care, honestly. So, I know I'm starving. Been working all day. Brandon didn't buy me lunch.
Buy your worker lunch?
I bought him lunch.
He bought me lunch.
That's terrible.
I purposely had a phone call right till he got to the counter for lunch.
It's all right. Just a few things on the invoice. No big deal. Same thing.
Like I said, you can always send the amount. I get the final say.
So we get let's go back one more thing. Danny made a good point talking about the KZ stuff. Where even I talked with Kyle Wick after Rock Vegas, and I think I mentioned this on one of the last couple shows we did, but all of our guys over here in the States have, I think, stepped things up a ton on the shifter side. You guys have all been around for enough time now to see what the progression's like year to year in X30. Rating this year, Ryan, you ran it the most. Where do you feel like this year's field and the level throughout all the way, ranks over the last couple of years in terms of competition?
I think it's probably one of the best years we've had. I think the Americans have stepped it up pretty well, just because, whenever somebody from Europe has come over here, they've not struggled, but they, it's tougher than I feel like it has in the past. I feel like it used to be if a European showed up, they'd just kind of walk the field. And now it's like, we're at least, we're fighting with them. They're having to try pretty hard. They're having to bring people over. Like it's definitely more serious. And I think you saw that at the supernats, that even though, the track wasn't that difficult, to drive, but still a lot of Americans and, a lot of our guys that race the American series consistently were up front. So I think, the level is pretty high. I would say it's probably the highest it's been since, I don't know, 2019 or something. Or even earlier than that. I think it's a really high level. I always look back at the days of the early Florida Winter Tour, when Oliver Askew and, Ed Brand, Kirkwood. Yeah. All those guys. I wish I could have raced senior, 3 years earlier, just because that, Nick Neri, those Charlie Eastwood, all these guys that I used to watch. And I was like, man, that's the craziest race. These guys are so smart. I wish I could have raced that. And even when Ben Cooper raced it, it's those were really good years. And I think we're at a point where we're close to that, where it's you've got a lot of really good Americans and really good Europeans. And I don't think it was at that point until more recently. So I think it's been really good, but we got to see what it does next year.
Brandon, what do you think? I feel like out of anyone to be the foil to that, you'd probably be that guy. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, I think the the racing this year is definitely really good. I think everyone stepped up their game a lot. The only thing I think back in the day, like early 2010 to maybe 2017, 18, 19, I just think racing was way different. Like not everyone's equipment was 10 out of 10 every race. Like now everyone's equipment's 10 out of 10 every race. It's kind of like very cookie cutter. Like you do the same thing almost every race. You just go out and everyone does the exact same lap time. If you don't qualify good, you're not really it's hard to get back into the race like up to the lead, where back in the early 2010 days and stuff like that, there's so many different like aspects of the race. Like some people's carts would be really good for the beginning, then they would fall completely off the cliff. Then the second half of the race, some people's carts, they'd come from like 30th in the field up to the lead. And it was just way different back then because you actually like really had to try hard on tuning your carts and developing the carts. Not everything was just exactly the same every single race. So I think that it's just different now. Like, yeah, the competition's really good now. Like everyone, like you watch, everyone does lap times within hundredths of a second every lap. And if you make one mistake that's like half a tenth slower, you're going to lose 5 spots because everyone's doing the exact same lap time every lap. So I think it's just different, but I liked it back in the day a little bit better. Just because it was, I think, more challenging, but in a different way than it's challenging now.
Braden, you came back, did a partial schedule in both this year, but I think that's a good point though, Brandon, right? Like it felt like I think that, teams like RPG and Speed and some of the teams that have like, either at the customers where they could go and do more test weekends before races. I mean, that was a rarity, 10 years ago, like the level that everyone was pushing themselves to. And I think that's why and even just the level of practice everybody did. You'd see guys come back and run like 2 races a year and go win like pretty easily, or the equipment side too. But I feel like just as much as the driver caliber is probably natural talent, like as good now as it was, back then or similar as stuff changes. I think the level that the race teams are at, the chassis tuning, and like you said, like equipment wise, there's not like an ugly looking go-kart usually in an X30 field anymore. Whereas like in the Leopard days in like 2011, 2012, 2013, and the sport was fragmented too. So you could make the counter argument that like you had 5 factory level teams running the Rotax circuit, 5 ones on the IAME circuit, and then a handful out on the West Coast running the SCUSA Pro Tour. But Braden, I think you've kind of danced the line back and forth about as much as Connor has. So what do you think on this year, racing wise, level wise, etc.?
I mean, it's definitely extremely competitive. I think this year, driver lineup probably the most competitive that it ever was, in my opinion. But obviously, equipment is always a big part of it, right? So it's the only thing. I mean, I don't want to get negative at all, but at least for me, it is a little bit more difficult to gauge because also, like, for example, Hayden Jones made a team swap and kind of went from running 20th, 15th to being able to win. So there's still a big element of equipment in there that kind of makes it hard to tell like who has really good equipment and who doesn't. But I mean, nonetheless, I mean, it's not easy at all. It's definitely the most competitive, I think, driver wise that it has been, at least in my life.
Paulie, you've raced, the last few years. What do you think? Do you echo Brandon? Do you have any? I know we're holding you from dinner, so you don't have to make a long answer. But I get told enough that I don't let you talk, so I'm going to you before Conman.
No, I'm good. It's the last one, so I got to stick around because it's never gonna happen again. But no, I think the competition is very, very, very stout. Definitely a lot better. It's definitely progressing. It's not just the Norberg show. He's it's a little struggle for some people. At different tracks, but I mean I wouldn't say I really raced this year. It was more participation, but I definitely think the competition's been pretty stout this year. I definitely think it's been a lot more aggressive. I think the aggressiveness has been, the highest I've seen in a long time. A lot of swerving, a lot of dirty driving.
Yeah, what about your
Walking.
highlight from Cincinnati? I think that's a highlight right there.
I mean, that guy, he swerved me, destroyed my chassis the day before. So I don't like. That's the only reason why I crashed him. I'm not really
That's
much of a
what happens
crasher anymore.
when the field gets tight like that. I mean, that's the thing. I think, we all kind of overlook it sometimes. We're like, oh, the racing's just so much more aggressive, which I think it is more aggressive. But when the racing is that tight, and like Brandon said, like you can't give an inch, and like as soon as you're the guy on the back foot, like you can't give an inch. And then like it's like, other than Joe, there really wasn't anybody that won like a lot this year. So it was like we all really wanted to win. So yeah, like you come off and you finish second, and you were like, you were livid, like you were pissed because it's like that. You worked hard, you had to try hard, you had to like think about how you manage your tires to the race. Like it wasn't like you just kind of went out there and were like, oh, the kart was fast, and I just kind of went by everybody. So you actually had to like, even when you were fast. I mean, there's races that I was fast, and it's like I still had to like work hard to finish second. Like it was like you really had to work this year. And I think that's why the racing was so aggressive and so intense, because everybody wants it really bad. And especially this year, when it's this good, it's like if you win when it's this good, it's like a very good, it's just a nice thing to add to your name, where if you don't get much from second, so it's one of those things. Winning with this competition level just added to the intensity.
And to echo off you guys too, right? Like NASCAR went through kind of the same thing at a few of the road course, which is why they did the different Indy Motor Speedway road course start zone this year. And they were talking about it all the time after the NASCAR race at COTA. And even, why the NASCAR IMS like restarts were bad before. I mean, where they were just driving into the side of each other because the new next gen car was more indestructible. And the field was closer because it was a spec car. So with the field being closer, you're going to have guys not giving an inch. I think also off Brandon's point of like guys that are good at the beginning or the end, that's where it's exciting for the Stars and SCUSA Pro shows next year. And USPKS hasn't finalized their format of what the race weekend will be, but I know that I talked a little bit with Mark, and actually I'm supposed to talk to them later this week to finalize some other stuff. But it was like night and day, the difference of Saturday at USPKS Newcastle and like Sunday, when we went from 8 to 10 lap heats to even just a 22 lap final. And so we lengthened these races a little bit, and you have more time where tire saving maybe is a bit of it, but also like I can, Paulie can knock Braden off on lap 8 of a heat and lap 1 of an 8 lap heat, and Braden probably won't get back to him. But like you get into somebody, in a long feature, and the odds of them getting back to you are a lot higher. So I think it makes guys think about it a little more. It might not. I don't know. The field's as close as it is, and it depends what the racing's like. We've had races where it's been smart, and you and Joe have gotten away, or anyone's gotten away, and there's also been races like Supernats where we've killed each other for second. So, but even then, Supernats, you add 5 laps onto that main, and you and Austin and Hayden probably would have gotten there if it was about 5 more laps at the rate that you guys were going to get to Dono. Yeah. Which it's hard to armchair quarterback that.
5 laps. That's like, like another 5 laps. You're like, all right, come on. But no, I agree. I think that's the coolest thing we've done this year. I don't know if it's, I like when we test the drivers more, like physically, like when the finals are longer and stuff. I think it's like, I always like that. I think there's so much more possibilities. You get knocked, like you said, you get knocked off early in the run, and you actually have a shot to come back. Like it's happened a lot where you just kind of get, potted off or whatever. You fall back to 10th, and it's like, if you just keep calm and keep your head in it, like you realistically, as long as they don't like fight for second, you realistically still have a shot at winning the race. And so I don't know, I always like that. And you can kind of take bigger risks with your strategy stuff. You can go really low with the pressure because it's possible, right? Or you could go, it's hard to go high. It's hard to really be that guy to go high and defend the whole time.
Like Paulie, that Cincinnati race that you wrecked the guy, and you still got back up to the lead group like 5 laps later because Harley was low lining the thing. You could have won the race almost.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I was like, I don't know. They were on the other side of the straightaway, and like halfway through the race, I'm back up in there, and I'm like, huh. I mean, USPKS had to hammer me down with a last place award, but
really
I don't know. I thought we were told on the grid that
that was
people
not justified.
No, because we were instructed that oh, we can't see everything, so handle stuff yourself. So what do? Handle it myself, and I get banged with a hammer, and I'm like, oh, that's nice. Meanwhile, people are swerving all across the track, and like they're just ripping around. No big deal.
Yeah, see, even the commenters are seeing it. So I
That's
thought
what
that
I'm
was the
saying.
epitome of street justice. And I think one other thing that I'm proud of this show is I feel like, granted, all of us loosely talk to each other a good bit beforehand, and that stuff happens where you start racing the same people week in, week out. You kind of talk to each other, and there's points where you guys have gotten mad at each other, and not talk to each other. But I think the best thing that the shifter guys have going for them is, especially because they are trying to fight for, legitimacy as the epitome and get everyone to go and run it. It's like they all toe the line. Like, even though Danny and AJ aren't the best of friends, they still have a lot of respect and will still talk to each other, and they have kind of a set code. So you never really see like that kind of stupid racing in the shifter stuff because it gets handled what feels like relatively quickly.
You saw it at the Rock with Wick and Danny. Wick, he said it was accidental, but he kind of got into the back of Danny and got him out of the way. And then like next corner, it was like boom, and then like they didn't hit each other for the rest of the. It wasn't like Kyle got upset that Danny hit him back. It was like they both knew. It was like, all right, you hit me, I get you back. We're square. Let's go on to the next one. Like it was actually. But that's like, I think that's just because they're all like old school guys. Like there's not a lot of like younger kids coming into shifter where I think there is with the X30 senior stuff. Like the old school guys still have that same code. And I think a lot of us here have that code when we race each other. Like if you want to flip, we'll flip, right? Like it's like kind of that thing. But like a lot of the kids, they'll flip, turn around next session, flip again. Like it's just, they'll just keep doing it. And so I don't know. I think, the shifter, it's different because it's just that older crowd.
Yeah. Well, Connor, before we let you guys go, take a commercial break and head to Q&A for the final time. Well, actually, I had one more question, but we do have a viewer throwing a question here. I don't know if this is meant for all you guys, but if you guys want to chime in, we can. Otherwise, I was going to go to Connor's 10 years question from earlier because I think that would have been funny. We all know the answer here. There's no training body specifically for being a race official or race director. But this is actually, I think I'm going to switch this question a little bit for you guys. What should your resume look like to be a race official in your guys' eyes? Brandon, I feel like you've got some thoughts on this. I'm going to go to you as a team owner first. What would you like to see out of a qualified race director? What would qualities, whatever, what do you want to see?
This is a hard question. I don't know. I think it's hard because anything you say, you're going to pick on people in general. But I think a lot of the race directors do a good job this year. I think there is some favoritism showed on people, and I've noticed a lot from behind the scenes of doing team owner stuff that a race director will make a call on the track, and then you'll go and protest it, and you won't ever really actually talk to the race director who actually made the call. You'll talk to somebody else, and they wind up making the final decision to like overturn something or assess a penalty a different way without even conferring with the race director who originally made the call. So like I think there's some behind the scenes issues with some of the series that other people are making final decisions instead of an actual race director. I think as far as qualifying to be a race director, I think you just got to be not really biased towards anybody in general. And it'd be hard to really do like a training thing because I know it's hard to hire race officials and race directors. As so as it is, it's probably the hardest job and the least wanted job in the pit area. But I don't know if there's like I don't know what kind of training thing you would be able to go to. But I think you kind of you can't just step in and be a race director right away. You kind of gotta like make your way up, be like an assistant race director, then or be like a corner worker, assistant race director, or something else, and then a race director. But there's got to be like a stepping stone, not just immediately right to race director.
Any of you guys got thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, I think, I don't know. This is not really a thought, but this is kind of just on race directing in general. I'm really interested to see how the race directing goes for the new SCUSA format, because technically the race director is going to have a lot less of a workload, to handle the pro classes. And so hopefully the race director race directs, and can see like if a guy's white lining it and then gets booted off the racetrack, it's not because a corner worker was like, oh, he hit him, that's contact, give him a penalty, right? It's like the race director can kind of see like, oh, the guy was asking for it. Or if you were like, they can take the race in as a whole and understand that like that was racing because, the guy's chopping down on people, something, but at least the race director should have more time to be involved in the call, like every call, because it's only going to be, it's like 2 races in the evening, right? So they should be able to be more involved and watch the race where, I see it's difficult for a race director to, we have 250 carts on the racetrack and you're doing, everything just eventually blends into one, it's just go-karts going by over and over and over. It's hard to keep focused on that, but I'm really interested to see with the new format, how it's going to change, because I feel like at the shootout and stuff, when they do the shootout and it is like kind of everybody just watching one thing, the penalties are normally pretty fair. Like if you're not in, if you're doing something that's stupid and you get hit, it's like, it happens, right? I don't know what Pauly's talking about, but for me,
Pauly's on mute. What are you talking about? Talking.
His eyes. He's speaking with his eyes, man.
My eyes were bugging out. My apologies.
He's scrolling.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for next year.
Yeah. So, for those that don't know and viewers going along, when we started doing our videos and before we started doing the streams, since I'm not that good behind the camera in terms of working the extra cinematography we do for our YouTube videos, I actually worked as a USPKS, one of the assistant race directors, and did a lot of regional and club race directing too. So between that and then working with the series, seeing it, I can attest to a couple things. There's always, allegations of kind of what Brandon was hinting to of guys not being perfectly down the center. And that's tough because as a race director, we want them to be like, for lack of a better term, an asshole to the rules. But we also want them to listen to us when we want to give them common sense. And there's like a fine line, right? Like, USPKS has been the series. I feel like that'll be a little more lenient to what they think is common sense versus sticking to the rule if the rule might be stupid. And SCUSA in the past has been more stick to the rule, even if the rule's stupid, and screwed some guys over. This year, supernats shifter qualifying, they called an auto ball, went against what the book said and tried to be fair. But there's no way you're going to be perfect with it. There's no way these guys are going to be happy. What I will say, since these all right, let's clarify here, everybody. I'm not going to go that long, but these guys are all thinking that I'm going to go 30 minutes. I'm not. I'll get to my point here. Get the piece stuff out of the way. They don't really go off corner workers anymore. Almost none of the national series do. When they make calls, there's 2 ways. USPKS has a bunch of assistant race directors out there. They'll make the calls in individually. SCUSA has a group of guys that call stuff in, goes to the video control room, and there's 2 guys plus Bo that calls it there. Rock is a hybrid and Stars is a hybrid where they'll allow a line of eyesight calls, and they'll also have half of them probably go to the video review room. SCUSA is automatic to the video review room with pretty much everything that's going to be a penalty or a non-penalty to be reviewed. And USPKS doesn't have it, so they have more guys on the racetrack, or at least that's all they rely on. The one thing I would say would be cool that I think no matter what you could do is with modern tech, shut up, Connor, is you could do a remote review group, right? Like Brandon said, race directors are the hardest, least sought after job, hardest job at the track. You're out in the elements. It's not fun. You're only there for a couple days. Even if you make the same day rate that Paulie does, Paulie's going to make more money than you because he's there for 5. You're there for 3. But you could get some guys that are happy to sit at home and wait on call all day for a day rate and review video when protests come in. So then when you do get your protest and you want a video review, it goes to a panel or 1 or 2 other guys at home that aren't there, that have no political ties, if you could think that there's guys like that, and it would be remote. So that would be something cool, I think.
Well, call them?
No, I mean, maybe we do this. They can get on a FaceTime with you.
It's not the same.
Yeah. Oh, that's because you guys are whiny little drivers. So
I think race directors should have to have won at least 1 race before.
Did you see Matt Langford's comment on his kid's YouTube account?
Blake Hunt, just poor guy, catching strays left and right, and he's not even on the show. Poor guy, Blake. No. But that would be cool. If we had a remote review room, that would be pretty cool. All right. Paulie's pissed.
Anything else,
'cause he
Xander,
wants-
or no?
Nope, that's it, dude. You can go. Bye, Paulie.
That-
No, I mean, unless you want to answer. Oh, no, he's actually gone. No.
I know.
No. All right. Why don't you lead us off for the fight? Do you want to do Connor's "Where do you see yourself in 10 years" question, or do you just want to finish?
Oh, skip me. I gotta actually think about that.
Hey,
Brandon-
Beeves, you're up first.
Oh, Beeves up first. You call it, Connor. Yeah, Beeves up first. Where do you want to be in 10 years?
I'd really like to be racing an IndyCar in 10 years. That would be cool. But hopefully I'm alive and well, and I'm racing still in something, and I'm doing what I want to do.
Ryan, you're up next.
I think racing on Mars would be pretty cool.
Is NKA the next biggest thing?
I have no idea, dude. I literally don't know what I'm doing next year. I got to put stuff off till the very end. So, like, I'm still working out next year. So, 10 years, oof, like, I hope I'm, having a good time.
Don't we all?
It's going to be better than Paulie's. I should be alive.
Xander, where I just hope I'm alive. Xander, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Oof. Hopefully
Talking.
not traveling. this guy, bro.
I was about to say the same thing.
Oh man,
he's gonna start getting like sad.
No, I'm good. No, hopefully not talking as much. Hopefully where I'm wanting to talk more. Hopefully we have more and more of our guys get better and better at announcing races, because I don't know if I want to be
out there.
I don't know if I want to be traveling 36 weeks straight to announce. If I was driving, maybe it'd be a different story, but won't be. So I don't know, balance out life a little better. And I think would be really cool, and what I've told most of you guys about, and most of the viewers I think somewhat know, is I'd love to get us to the point where after Supernats we did a pro show tour series, like an SRX style schedule from after Supernats when everyone's got new equipment on our way over to Miami in January. And you do it outside of the car seasons for IMSA, NASCAR, IndyCar.
Brandon looks thrilled.
I'm gonna kill
We
Brandon.
get 2 weeks of no racing. Until we
What's
have
up?
it.
Did you see the PRI show with the Top Kart and their deal? That's pretty cool. I want to see how that goes. Like the electric carts, like in a short track, the electric carts would be pretty badass. Like they're gonna be fast.
It's gonna be cool. I'll be up at PRI there.
Hey, Xander, you got to put up Matt's comment about Ryan Norberg's 10-year plan.
Literally, dude.
Oh, what is it?
Now the 13-year-olds, I'll be out there to create stomp. 37 times.
He's scouting them right now. Every time he coaches one of those kids, he tells them the wrong thing because he's got to beat those kids one day.
Well, that's why I'm coaching micros. I'm like, you realize you have to race me. You're fat, man.
No, I think that would be cool, because I think it's now with the pro show format, we're kind of at this hybrid, but it was always so tough to want to say that I'd want to have you race or Paulie race, or Brandon race, or Braden, and the same with Ryan. Luckily, Ryan's got a setup where he's able to and still coach, but for a lot of you guys, it's either make money coaching or go racing. And so you look at, like, people compare us to Moto. We're a lot smaller than Moto, but the Moto world has the top 10 or so factory guys in the back half of the Supercross field that's driving in vans race to race to make it. They make it the rest of the year coaching the other 9 months. So if we're going to do like a proper pro season where somehow or another we're able to bring in enough revenue, the teams can survive to do it, and it's just those classes, it doesn't need a lot of extra fatty classes, and it's more fan oriented, that would be really cool. Because then we've got a discipline like we talk about. We throw the word pro around, and this racing is hard and it's serious and everybody takes it professionally, but we're, in some way or another funded not to go win. So that's where I'd like to go. But as hopefully when I'm trying to do this, I don't have you guys to just talk smack in our private text message every single.
I'm gonna miss. That's what I'm gonna miss. Talking talking crap in the private message.
I'm
They should
not
make
gonna
it
miss
public.
man.
They should make
No.
it public. So that
No,
the viewers
you guys,
can see what we're talking about.
we get canceled enough as it is because of you clowns.
Xander,
bro.
what do they call that in government with a filibuster? I think you would be an excellent filibuster.
Oh my god. It took you guys 100 episodes to finally really start talking back to me here.
Just
So,
the
we'll
yap.
call that a win. I think this is probably the best chemistry
hold
you've
on,
ever had
hold on.
on
We
the
gotta
show.
We got to hear Paulie's 10-year plan. I'm really
Oh, he's been cooking on it for 10 minutes. I gave him a lot of time when I fillibusted. So he better have something.
I totally forgot because I was just roasting Xander in the private chat about how he just keeps
That's
talking.
fine. Nobody
nonstop.
cares anyway. We'll just
Hey,
put him
no,
off.
we gotta hear it.
No, I wanna hear
give
it.
bro a chance. Give bro a chance.
I don't know. Hopefully not in a hole, but you never know. So we'll start it from the bottom. Just hopefully doing something I like. I don't really know what the plan is now. Obviously, karting's not the ultimate end
F1.
game.
You must be an F1 team
Obviously, unless you're a team owner, I don't really want to pursue that. So I don't know. Kind of got to think about it a little bit. Time's ticking with finding a new career, getting a little bit older. Maybe an F1 with Toto Wolff or something like that, being his right-hand man. But I don't really know. Or I could be a couch bum. I don't know. We'll see. See how it goes.
Stay tuned.
Hopefully I'm 6
Stay
feet above
tuned.
ground.
Still have Xander's voice ringing in my brain.
Oh, shut up, man.
I'm still gonna be shit talking you 10 years from now, Xander. I already know, and that's not even a question.
We made it already 10 so far, so I guess that's only fair.
10
Brandon,
years
you didn't
ago, we
answer
were in
the
that
question.
parking lot in GoPro.
You talk about this like it's a funny story. It's not a funny story. You were mean. You're like, hey, dude, come
now
out.
you're manipulating the story to try
No,
and
I'm
make
not.
me look bad. Okay.
Yeah, just like how you manipulate and say that I owed you
alright.
and got free snacks.
Let
Wait,
Brandon
wait,
go.
wait, 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 wait,
Yapping
wait,
again.
wait,
Let's
wait,
just
wait a
It
second.
was him.
Wait a
Xander.
second.
We're
Xander,
heading
can
out, man. Don't get another story going.
Xander, can you tell me what
Actually-
you think about the difference in European karting and
No,
USA karting?
no.
How many times do we go down that road? We get a lot
I
of those same
actually-
questions. I'm kicking you guys out before Q&A so you guys can stop crying.
Wait, Xander. I actually got a text message from somebody that's watching, and they did remind me what I will be doing in 10 years.
Oh, what's that?
So I picked up a new hobby outside of all the other stuff I do. I've been playing a good bit. Well, I'm becoming a golfer. So I've been playing a good bit. I think I shoot sometimes under 100, depends on the day. But 10 years, I keep practicing. I think I might be the next
PGA.
Tiger Woods.
Happy Gilmore.
Oh yeah, Happy Gilmore. That wouldn't be bad. But I did get a text, and that reminded me.
Ooh, that guy's roasting it.
Yeah, there you go, Paulie. I haven't had a runaway card at GoPro.
Hey, that wasn't me. That was Brandon with my gear on. That wasn't me.
all right.
You.
That's a good ending here. Brandon, 10 years, you're the last one, and then we're off.
Dead.
Oh man, that's a hard question because looking back 5 years ago, I wouldn't have expected to be where I'm at now. But I don't know, just grow my business more and try and grow the business as much as I can, be as successful as we can, and hopefully Paulie will keep helping me. I didn't really know he was planning on leaving the sport as soon as he's saying.
That pay's got to
we're gonna
come
have to
up.
talk about-
Minimum wage ain't cutting
that
it.
tomorrow.
Minimum wage.
But yeah, no, just grow the team as much as I can, help as many people as I can, and introduce new people into the sport and help them grow, and hopefully maybe make some kids successful in car racing as well.
Well, I'm glad we're ending it. I think this show has gotten as toxic as it's ever been. And Paulie's talked more than in episode 100 than all of episodes 1 to 99.
Xander, you got to realize,
Combined.
man, it's hard to talk when you talk for 37 minutes straight. Like you cover everything. There's
I
nothing
forget
good
what I
to
was even
say.
going to say by the time Xander's done talking.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Like
you
I
got
have something good to say, and then Xander, like I'm like waiting for Xander, waiting, and then he's like, "All right, the show's over," and it's like, "All right, none of us got to talk. Great show."
Xander just brings us on here to sit here and look pretty.
Exactly. Like I said.
I thought this was a decently balanced show tonight. I didn't think it was that bad.
It
Hell,
wasn't.
Before, you guys used to get mad at Ryan for talking too much, but Ryan was the only one that would ever answer back.
Now, well, that was because Ryan covered everything too, but then he kind of calmed down and you just kept going longer and longer and longer.
Yeah.
So by that point, there's nothing really to say anymore.
Well, either way.
And on that note.
Yeah.
And on
that's
note,
it. 100 episodes. You guys made it.
I think you need to have another episode next week.
No, we're done. We're done. You're
just
fired.
for yourself.
Everyone's
just
fired.
For yourself.
All right, are we done?
Never hired.
We're done.
No,
we're done. We're going to commercial. Thanks for a good ride, guys. We'll be back after this for those that are going to stay. Otherwise, these idiots are getting off. We'll see you guys next time. Whenever.
See ya.
KC Happy Hour is proudly presented by the Rock Sonoma Karting Championship, presented by Cameron Race Promotions, the most competitive Northern California karting series. Featuring a 2-day format with practice on Saturday and racing on Sunday, multiple track configurations, and a massive prize structure including tickets to Rock Vegas, race car test opportunities, and race rewards. Rock Sonoma is the training ground of multiple national karting champions each year and race car champions as well. Featuring a full Rock Cup USA class structure with each race weekend streamed live via YouTube, it's a series you cannot miss. For more info, check us out online at zanzarukarting.com.
Are you a racing enthusiast? Drive Your Line is the Mid-South's only full-service kart shop. We make dreams a reality for those 5 years old and up. All racers start in karting, and we're the purveyors of fun for the whole family. Karting the Coast is presented by Drive Your Line Kart Shop and is the premier race series on the Gulf Coast and brings racing to Biloxi at Finish Line Performance Karting and at the world-renowned NOLA Motorsports Park. Call us at 601-667-0770 or find us at driveyourline.com. Also on Facebook or Instagram.
Kart Store USA is a kart parts supplier that racers and retailers can count on when they need reliable advice and service. We focus on servicing all racers with honesty and pride while maintaining customer satisfaction. We carry a full stock of Kart Republic and Tony kart chassis, as well as IAMI and Vortex Rock engines. We've also got a host of other parts available and in stock, such as products from Rev Performance Materials, Jecco Racing Seats, and more. We have a 100% satisfaction guarantee. And on top of that, if your order exceeds $200, shipping is on us. Check out all we have to offer today by visiting us online at kartstore-usa.com. All right, guys, welcome back to finish off the show. And so that way these guys all got to get off. I figured I'd save a lot of the Q&A that everyone sent in over today and some of the comments that have come in for the last little bit. So I tried to compile everything from Facebook, and a lot of these are normally questions that I don't always answer. Sometimes I'll skim through and I won't pick every single question from Facebook and Instagram. These are ones from Instagram. They were submitted through there, so I didn't want to put names. People didn't want names attested to it. This one I will say, which is who was the last person standing for Kart Chaser's team after Super Sunday. This is from David Cole at EKN because he knew that everybody was going to go out and celebrate after the Supernats broadcast. I will say I was out a little bit later than Trevor was. Kyle was out there with me. A couple of other guys were, but it's a long season. We didn't really actually do much that week. A couple of guys I think were able to, but for the most part, that weekend was just a lot of long nights. So I think a lot of people were tired. And I think the Super Sunday party wasn't as big of a party as people might have thought we might have done, because you're there just as long as the race teams are. And then here's like another stupid question that I normally don't end up answering, that I get questioned about my hair all the time. Every single time I do a Q&A, people ask about my hair, but it's a final show, so I figure I'll at least answer it. I don't really put any product in it. I just kind of comb it with my hand, or sometimes I'll use a hairdryer with a brush. It's nothing special. And then here is probably the most common question that I'll get off of Q&A at the end of any time that we'll put it out, and that's, will I get back in the seat anytime soon? Any plans to race again? Which is funny because, I think part of that I'll give credit to this show and to all the broadcasts that we interview all the fast drivers. I'm normally commentating them. People forget that, I didn't have you can't put me in that same conversation as those 5 guys that we just had before me. Those guys are superstars. I had a couple good runs in the limited racing that I was able to do. Was very lucky to do. I don't remember if I openly said this, but what I am working on, if I am going to race again, it's important that, it kind of has a purpose to it. As much as I'd love to do it just for fun, I don't want anyone watching this show or hearing me or seeing me racing at the racetrack to think that we're running this business just so I can go and play race car driver on the weekends when we're supposed to be working. So one idea that I've been kind of working on as we've been slowly picking up more and more potential marketing partners is to do a scholarship car, and mainly kind of not only just tell kids, but show all the upcoming, kids in karting what you need to do to keep good relationships with sponsors, how you should present yourself to the media, how your social media outlets should be, how your interviews should look like, how you should, not necessarily that you all have to dress a certain way, because you should differentiate when it comes to the media side, but just kind of model it for a year. And then after that, step out and either have one kid move up. Let's say it's a superstar 206 driver, doesn't have the money for KA, and we kind of have a KA 100 car ready to go and run national racing. Or, if it's X30, then it's someone that's made a lot of waves in KA, and we take them from KA and up to X30 and put them in. And I would just do it for the first year to model it. And then he would say, all right, you're going to get some sponsors because you performed really good on the racetrack, but racing is 99% off the racetrack and 1% on it. So you need to learn this now, how to speak, how to be, very approachable and likable, and, represent partners. So if there's any way that I end up racing again, which, as those plans come together, hopefully maybe I get to do a little bit of that. The other half that I might do some races on is weekends that we wouldn't do a live stream at. So going and doing a vlog at a club race, and maybe going and doing some 206 racing. I was working on doing something like that last year with Briggs. Ultimately, we got a little too busy and it kind of fell through. And the same thing with, even this year, we've been so busy, I haven't been able to really have a lot of spare weekends. I've been at almost every single weekend that we've had streamed on the channel in some capacity. So if I'm able to get away for more weekends, doing projects that I think are going to move the needle to grow the sport, or do something that gives back, like a scholarship car, and, hey, here's, I did it last year. I did the workload. I posted this amount per day. I did these vlogs. I talked to these people. I know it can be done, and I expect you, if we're going to put you in the scholarship seat, to do the same thing, but also as a way to, help kids move up our own kind of karting ladder and maybe get to race something that they didn't get to race before. I don't want to, dream about it, but, and say, we're going to take someone from go-karts to F1 or IndyCar. That's massive money. But to be able to put together a 5 or 10,000 or whatever kind of smaller deal sponsorship, I think that'd be something really cool. And I think that'd be something I'd be really proud of. And it'd give me the opportunity for a few more races, would be really cool. So that's the answer to that. This is a good question. Why hasn't a faster 4-stroke like the Tillotson option kind of taken off in America? And I think going on cost, I think that's the main thing. If you're going to go faster than a 206 and go to, let's say, the Tillotson they're mentioning that's about Yamaha KT100 speed, the Tillotson 225, and be like a second tier, you need guys that, really want to race a 4-stroke engine over a 2-stroke engine. I think most people, when they want to go faster or they want to spend more money than a 206, will just go a 100cc route. So if you're going to make something to compete with that, and it's maybe not as fast, or it starts at 0 entries and a KA race has 60 down the road, you're fighting an uphill battle to get it to take off. So it's possible. Even guys after the CKNA Grands this year were thinking that they should maybe do you heard on this podcast with Tim Lobos saying it'd be cool to do a 206 pro class. And even that might have a little higher cost to win of what the winner actually spent versus a regular CKNA national class. But most people, if they're just going to go faster, they'll just go to what's out there. So if you're going to make a new engine stick, you gotta spend a lot of money. You got to give a lot of engines away to get a class to go. And speaking of CKNA, asking if we're going back, well, this week we're working on finalizing details of all the series. so far it seems like everyone was pretty happy with the job that we were able to do this year at each of the events. It's no secret that we don't make enough on our own to go to the series off of their dime or without their dime. So every series has to justify having a little bit of money to help pay for us to be there. And I'm trying to do some new kind of creative ways to either give more value or bring the cost down to the promoter for next year without kind of cutting our arm off. So I know CKNA with Greg, they're super, super busy. They just announced today that they're doing their summer nationals in Pittsburgh. But he's on my list to call and see if we can go maybe do the spring nats, the summer nats, and the grand nats next year. And with some of our light programs, we announced that, or MCC announced that we'll be doing a program for their club series. So working on kind of like some satellite style streaming options that won't be maybe to the billionth degree that we do the supernats. Nothing's really going to be that high of a budget production, but a couple cameras, put it on. Maybe even we can use the subscription monthly to help kind of cover costs. So we're working on ways to try and get more races streamed. And I know that I think Greg was pretty happy with the job we did this year. So hopefully that means we get to go do it again. And this is kind of building right off that same question. This was off of Facebook with Ashley Velaz, and she was asking, what are the benefits of promoting local karting with a podcast similar to Kart Chaser? What content's important to cover as a podcast host? And I think there's kind of two, I've always said there's like two ways that you make it where people want to pay for what you're doing. And there's the overall views and viewership where there's such a spotlight you put on, the event, which is hard to get as racing gets smaller and smaller and smaller. It's hard for us to punch above, let's say, the Snowball Derby, with late models that has tens of thousands of fans in the stands and hundreds of thousands of people across the country that know late model racing that want to watch that compared to the supernats. The racing is equally good, but the lower you go in the ranks of motorsport, the harder it is to get extra eyeballs. So the other way that you go about doing it is you create, content that's stuff that the drivers, the families, the participants can, almost take away as mementos. So whether it's podcast, honestly, short form video is the best way. If any club is trying to inexpensively, really try to push what they're doing, you don't need a live stream. You don't need these hour-long shows. Nobody watches that stuff anymore. The majority of content consumed on social media is clips. It's even why at the beginning there's over 100 extra YouTube videos that are KC Happy Hour clips. We're going to clip parts from this podcast as well. And that was our strategy. You heard from Danny earlier that, streamers have kind of come and gone in our sport and never stuck around. And I think a big key reason as to why we stay is all the highlights like Ryan was talking about and all the clipping. And so we look at our live streams and our podcast as libraries that we can pull 30-second and 60-second and 90-second bits from. But if I were to start over again with a $0 budget and try to go and promote a local club, and I kind of did this actually, if you go back on the AMR Motorplex Facebook and Instagram pages from the spring of winter of 2020, January, we were starting to try and push K100 racing. And so I just went around with my phone and did quick interviews with a bunch of drivers. And it's not like that had a fan following. It was a local series, but all the drivers shared it. They felt cool to be a part of it. Everyone loves to see their name in lights. So if you make the people there feel really special, they're going to be willing to pay for it. If you can't do the first primary one, which is bring more exposure. And sometimes exposure doesn't necessarily mean millions of people outside the sport. It just could mean a little better exposure inside the sport too. If it's just 100 people watching, it might be 100 go-karters, then that could be 100 more entries. So I think short form interviews, or short form content, interviews are the easiest way. Little flybys and stuff. Do it with your phone. Don't worry about the quality. Just get stuff out. And that's the best way you can cover a race weekend. Because social media is kind of like throwing stuff against a wall. You don't know what sticks and what doesn't. There's somewhat of a strategy to it. But at the end of the day, you're better off taking 10 shots than 2. Because sometimes I'll spend hours on one post or one video and I think this is going to hit. And it doesn't. So that would be my advice if you're looking for benefits of promoting local karting and stuff like that. If you're going to do a podcast, spend the extra time and spend your money and hours clipping it up and posting clips of it. And if you're going to do weekend coverage, do a lot of interviews, short bits, and they don't have to be the highest production quality. You don't need the best camera and lens. Just get stuff out there. And if people see themselves, they're going to like it. I joke with our camera guys all the time that the bar is relatively low when it comes to racing in terms of the camera world. I used to tell them, like, we don't need to edit the heck out of our photos. Just get a good photo with a good camera, post it raw. People are going to be happy that you posted their face. Most memorable. This one's up there. Most memorable episode of KC Happy Hour. This one's up there. There's a few sour ones that kind of always, like I was joking earlier, make you lose a little sleep at night. But, I think at least in this year's era, the episode from Newcastle was really cool, that we fleshed out that kind of pro show idea back in July with Ray Liberante, Chase Jones, and Braden Eves. That was really cool. And that was a long one. I think the other one that I would say is probably one of my favorites going back was the episode I did with Tim Schutt. And what was really cool was that was more of the style of stuff that I'm going to be kind of putting myself towards in the future, which will be kind of personality style podcasts, almost Dale Jr. Download and Joe Rogan style, versus this more weekly talk show stuff that we've done. And I've done some of them in the past with Austin Garrison and Norberg and Brandon. And doing that with people of the sport, I think is really cool because, I talk to everyone that I can at the racetrack and away from it to try and keep a pulse on, what everybody needs and where everybody's struggling and how everybody's doing. Because I care, and it all, we're over everything, every series, every, part of the sport. It grows, we grow. And I hear these super cool background stories of the journeys these guys have had to get to where they're at. And so many people don't know that part. You see Tim Schutt, for example, as the guy I'm talking about, as a local shop owner. You maybe don't know him too well. You might see him at the racetrack with the Timmy Tech comp cards, but to know that guy was a NASCAR crew chief, Monster Energy Supercross, basically crew chief and almost team manager for Joe Gibbs Racing's Monster Energy Supercross team, fabricator. I mean, done so many different things in his background, and obviously got back in just because he loved it. That stuff's really cool. Seeing the impact that show did for him, with a couple people reaching out saying they wanted to go and support his business and do business with him, was really cool. So that's the type of impact that I want to keep doing. As fun as it is to mess around with my knucklehead buddies that were on here earlier, that's what I want to keep pushing on, and I think that's what grows us. So that episode with Tim was really, really memorable, just as much, for sure, because he's just got such a cool story, and so many guys do. Sort of Shane Burke, what's been your most rewarding part of Kart Chaser to take on? Live stream, social media, presentations, commentary. I kind of mentioned it earlier, meeting Forrest Adams, is now running junior, pushing up to senior pretty soon, when he was in micro, and seeing, parents with their kids coming up and asking for pictures. Cause I was that kid, there was if I would have gone longer, but I didn't want to go too long with those guys there. But Brandon, when I went to my first supernats just to go watch my buddies, Brandon Jarsocrak was one of the only guys that recognized me out of a group that I was hanging with, just because I'd raced against him earlier that year. But I knew everybody else in the room, and I knew everybody that was there. When I was younger, it was every eCart news article, every Kart 360 article, every race monitor, results I could keep up with. And, now all of the kids in the sport that are of that, 7 to 12, 13-year-old range, or even younger, get to watch all these videos of their heroes, and get to know them and feel like you get to know them. That's seeing that impact is really cool. And this year, now that we've been around for a couple of years, even though we're mainly at a lot of the national races and don't get to a lot of club stuff, I've heard plenty of club shop owners and race team owners say, hey, this guy got in because he saw one of your videos or one of your clips or one of the broadcasts, and I'll see the comments and the total views go up. But I had one guy pull me aside at CKNA Grands, and I kicked myself for not getting his name. But he's like, yeah, man, I saw your stuff. I was a rental kart racer. I looked up the nearest track, went to Bushnell Motorsports Park in Central Florida, bought a go-kart, started racing. And now here I am 2 years later, and I'm at the CKNA Grand Nationals. And so to see guys get into the sport because of the reach that we're doing, that's really rewarding. So overall, it's just the people, even the same way with the culture we have built in the company. We've got a lot of hardworking young people working for us for the most part that all just wanted to be around karting more. And maybe for one reason or another, life got in the way, budget got in the way, and they couldn't race at the races that we're going to, and are just happy to be behind the camera or on camera or work in social media or anything. And they all, get along like a bunch of brothers and sisters that fight all the time, but, have a lot of fun together. So seeing that grow is really, really cool. And what they put together, the Supernats doesn't happen without that team. And this is from Brian Park. This is the last of at least the questions I had queued up. I'm going to go back through the chat here. I was going through a little bit during the commercial break of any others that I missed, but KC grew in part because of its authenticity, its ability to hold everyone accountable, drivers, teams, promoters, as it tries to grow, elevate, nurture the sport we all love. With the scale you have achieved, more than warranted, there is a difficulty in keeping that authenticity. Hopefully ending happy hour is not an acceptance of that. Something to think about as you enter your next exciting phase. Congrats to all involved. So first, thanks, Brian. And, he's right. It's really tough. And it was tougher, honestly, I feel like, earlier on in a different way. When we were smaller, you're worried about any misstep because, again, we were not a, investment fund backed company. So we were leaning on these race series to help basically subsidize us to show up. We weren't running our company at a 5-year loss rate, anticipating on ad money and subscriptions to eventually toe the line, which we're still banking on stuff like that and other revenue streams to help make it profitable for us and the race series to do streams together. But, it's kind of like you're biting the hand that feeds when you go on the show or you speak anywhere and you speak ill of, hey, this series should have done this different, or this penalty was blown, or, they should be doing this way or this that way. And, or if, I had plenty of instances where I bring the wrong guy on the show and I wouldn't think it's the wrong guy, or maybe I wouldn't bring the right guy on the show. And I had a better option and didn't. And you get into hot water and people, don't like what gets said. And, I've always said this is kind of more of an industry insider show. But that's tough, especially, being a younger guy. I'm 25 now. I was 22 and a half when we started the show. And you're kind of doing what you think is right and trying to be center of the line. And if you go over, apologize and correct. And if you go under, you get told you're being too woke and too non-authentic and any other thing thrown at you. And as great as the support has been behind us, there's also almost a pressure to, please everyone, which is impossible. So that's a lengthy answer, but that's what was going through my head a lot. I got told by some really people I looked up to for a while, hey, we love what you're doing with the streams. Really don't like what you're doing with happy hour. Really think you should end it. Shouldn't talk about this. You could do this. You could do this. Right. And, I just kind of weighed it all out and I was like, well, I think, if I'm doing what I feel like I can go to bed, sleep at night happily with what I said and how I handled everything, then we're going to be okay. And we have been, and everyone supported us and fought for us, and that's been great. So the real reason we're ending the show, and I think that's why I set this as the last question, is that, a year ago, I was able to play silly season with all the race series on their track locations and kind of shout from the sidelines of what I want them to do. A year later, I've been talking to almost everybody way in too deep to do that without just lying. We've got, when we started this show, it was to get everyone to get to know different drivers and personalities better. And then as we started getting that more out with the streams, then it turned into trying to shout for industry change or talk about problems we had. Well, I feel like we've covered about almost every problem the sport has had on the show. There's always going to be endless ones, but a lot of it, like Ryan said, it's tough to come up with new stuff every week. So that kind of got me and got Kart Chaser into the room with a lot of, the major players in the sport, and got those conversations started that I don't think would have happened if I just went and talked to them myself, at least not for a long time. But we're there now. So like those guys rolling their eyes at me when I stuck up for the race directors a bit, and talked maybe too long being PC about it. That's fair. But you know, what we've been championing for, we've kind of got, and now that changes where this show leads. So what's our kind of next stuff is what I want to finish off with, and that's a couple things. First, we're still going to do a lot of content during the week. Like I said, I want to keep doing industry one-on-one interviews. I think that stuff's great. I want to do more of it in person and record at race weekends and then post on here. But this show's tough to do. Half this year I was doing it in the RV or in a hotel room or wherever else, and your internet's not always good. And it might be a day where I just drove 12 hours in the truck to get from one track to the next or flow home or whatever. And, instead of getting to go to a nice dinner and go to bed, it's put the headset on and try to put a show together, and try to take the hours, earlier in the day to map it, book everybody guest wise, and, make all the graphics and do the commercials and keep that going. And, it takes a lot. So, for it to come out even as sloppy as it sometimes does. So, a lot of my efforts could be focused on stuff that helps move the sport, I think, a little bit better. Now that we've gotten both of those two goals across, I need to be doing stuff that moves the needle for us. Getting to rooms, talking with big corporate partners. Our views are getting there to the point where these guys are seeing us. The sport's starting to look a little bit more legitimate to the outside world. And, try to get, again, live streams and coverage and help out all these other parts of the sport more and more that can both grow our business and grow karting. Makes it tough for me to kind of set time for this every single week. So we're still going to have a lot of Q&A live streams, I'm sure. Still going to try and keep it real as much as I can, without, again, like hiding stuff. But I started this with, me just wanting to make the sport, have races, coverage, whatever, that I would have wanted to be a part of when I was in it as a driver. And it's still recent enough, and I feel like I still talk to enough people at all different tiers of karting to know that I fight for them. So, we're just going to kind of keep trying to do right by that and do right by the end person, not there to help make any series that much bigger. I'm not here specifically to make any team that much bigger or that much worse. I just want the everyday guy to still be able to have a really fun sport that's hopefully bigger, local community big near him. And, you heard it from these guys. Right now, if you work your butt off in the sport and you go all the way up, none of them have a ton of direction of where to go unless they have a lot more backing behind them financially to try and go into car racing. So that's something that we need to fix. Obviously, in a dream world, I'd love to have it where you get paid to race go-karts, but there's a lot of stuff that's got a domino fall to do that. In the interim, we could be doing a lot better job of connecting people to motorsports race teams to work as engineers and mechanics, or any other parts. I mean, there's so many successful people in the paddock that, you get a lot more justification for spending the money and time on your kid to go to the racetrack if you knew that at least as they get older, they end up with a really good network and end up, okay in life. I mean, that's how people justify youth sports, because you can get scholarships to college. So there's a lot of stuff we can do to make the sport better. And I'm going to keep fighting for that and hopefully be authentic. And if I'm wrong, then, I'll make an apology and try to do right, when I can. But that's a pretty lengthy answer to that and end off the show. I do have a couple of announcements, though, before we sign everything off for the night. I wanted to say first, in terms of growth and expansion, like I mentioned, the MCC Club, we're also going to do a handful of Newcastle Club races and kind of a Kart Chaser light program that you guys will see, which we're going to kind of demo with them. And it's going to start, we're going to do 2 spin-off Facebook and Instagram pages. One for KC Grassroots that'll cover regional series that we stream at, and the club stuff, and we'll do more social media coverage for them. And then the other one will be KC Kids, which a lot of you guys have been asking of, and I've been wrestling a lot with, of how to promote the micro, mini, and junior classes, because, what these guys say on the show tonight, what they say on interviews, comments are on, shares are on, people can say whatever, and they're all adults. They're all, well, except for Connor, he's not 18 yet, but he's very mature for his age. And most of the kids in senior that move up, and can run at the front of a pretty good head on their shoulders, and can take the fact of being in the spotlight, that not everyone's going to like what you say, and you're going to get a lot of negative comments for when you do something wrong, or even if you do something right, like Ryan, who just won a bunch of races and people hated him. So with the KC Kids page, it's going to be a little bit different, kind of I don't want to say watered down, but a bit more protected than a regular Kart Chaser page. For Micro, Mini, and Junior, we're not going to post anything controversial. We're going to try and somewhat limit the comments, if not fully turn them off. And the same, if we see anyone share a post and say something negative about a kid, instantly banned from the page. It's not meant to be a major spotlight page. It's something where we can show a little bit of love and give a little bit back to those classes. And if those posts go viral, fantastic. But I want it to go viral strictly for something positive, because I've never wanted to crucify a kid and put a digital footprint out there of them making a mistake or a bad decision or, whatever at 8 years old. So it's going to be highly monitored. I'm working on getting some sponsorships, which there's still slots available to be marketing partners specifically on either the grassroots page or the KC page, KC Kids page, at some really low entry rates. That'll help me kind of cover the cost of expanding our social media team to do extra posting for both of them on Facebook and Instagram. But I'm really excited for that. And it kind of opens a door for us to, again, just splice our content out. And if we're able to do hopefully more and more dirt races, we can do a KC dirt race spinoff. So that stuff is really exciting. But all that stuff that I need to work on, whether it's booking series for next year or working on sponsors, again, it takes time. And I only got so much. I got to manage the hours properly. So with that, everybody, I'm going to close the book. 2 hours, a good long show, but there's a lot to talk about and a lot more I could say. But I want to end off with thank you guys for watching every single week, supporting not just this, but everything that we do. And hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. For those in America, everybody has a great holiday season. I'm excited about what we got for next year. I got a lot of work to pull it all off, but we're going to keep fighting and hopefully doing the right thing. And we'll see you guys where we see you.